we'll jump right in. Hello and welcome to today's webinar on 529 Day 2024, top trends in 529 and able accounts. Today's webinar is sponsored by Ohio's 529 plan, CollegeAdvantage. And before we jump in, I am your host, Paul Curley, Director of Savings Research at ISS Market Intelligence, where I oversee data, research, events, and media as it relates to 529 plans and able accounts for institutional clients. We're joined here today with Trisha Good, Executive Director of Ohio's 529 plan, CollegeAdvantage, to provide a quick bio on Trisha. As interim Executive Director of the Ohio Tuition Trust Authority, OTTA, Trisha Good is responsible for leading the agency and its 35 employees, recommending and implementing the investment strategy as approved by an 11-member fiduciary investment board and managing the overall operations of the Ohio's 529 plan, CollegeAdvantage. Ms. Good has been serving as the Chief Financial Officer / Chief Investment Officer since 2010. Prior service with OTTA includes Investment Officer from 2000 to 2010 and Comptroller from 1996 to 2000. Ms. Good has previous work experience with Ohio Student Aid Commission, MPW Industrial Services, Inc., a local CPA firm, and Savings and Loan in the Columbus area. She resides near Hebron, Ohio with her family. I have a lot of family in Hebron, New Hampshire, so welcome Trisha, to today's session.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Happy 529 Day. So for today's today's agenda, we're going to talk about key themes in 2024. We're going to talk a little bit about the expansion of qualified expenses. We're also going to talk about market sizing trends and talking points. We're going to provide some reminders, tips, and best practices. We're also going to provide some industry announcements, product updates, and research releases. We're going to do our best to take questions and answers throughout today's session, but we also have a dedicated session at the end of today's session as well to take and discuss questions and answers. But without further ado, before we jump in, there are some housekeeping notes on today's Zoom. There's the chat functionality there. It is live. There's a question and answer functionality as well. Today's webinar is recorded and will be available on demand access in a couple different ways, but you will receive the links by email. And also, as you exit today's webinar, there will be a post-session survey, just so we can make sure that we're hitting the right topics. If we gather ideas, and of course, if you want someone to follow up with any questions that you may have, we are able to do so. So without further ado, we have today's session. And before we jump in, today's webinar is really just part of a broader series where we try our best to share and learn best practices, support the 529 community, and also raise awareness, understanding, and just prioritization of 529s. I think together the real goal is to just drive long-term growth opportunities for the industry, advisors, families. Broadly speaking, this Got Milk or Got Milk 529 campaign was really just something that the industry was really asking for. So we're happy to support the industry overall by making sure we just put out great content that's educational in nature. And before we jump in as well, there is a save the date for our 529 conference taking place in the fall. It's in Orlando this year at the Ritz-Carlton. The website is there. Registration's active. The room block is available. The photo below is from last year. So we look forward to today's session, but also in the fall as well. And without further ado, Trisha, please take it away for Ohio's 529 plan, CollegeAdvantage.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks for having us today, Paul. We appreciate it. So if you want to move to the next slide, I'll just go ahead and jump right in. We all know education after high school is a smart financial decision. Did you know that student debt in the United States is approximately $1.77 trillion? Approximately 45.3 million borrowers have federal student loan debt. That's nearly 4 times the number of residents in Ohio in 2022 of 11.76 million. The average of all student loan debt, including private loans, is approaching $40,000. It would take approximately 20 years to repay that loan at $30 a month. These are some pretty scary numbers, especially for those young adults just starting out in their careers. So we in the 529 community have a solution for that. Next slide, please. So the best thing about 529 plans is taxes. Simply put, earnings grow tax-free when used for qualified expenses. Distributions or withdrawals are tax-free when used for qualified expenses. And check with your specific state. In Ohio, the state of Ohio offers a tax deduction for any contributor that files an Ohio tax return up to $4,000 per beneficiary per year with an unlimited carry forward. It's important to note in Ohio that $4,000 is not a contribution cap. It's just a tax deduction ceiling. But again, please check with your own state because there are a number of different deductions and credits throughout the United States in 529 state plans. Next slide, please. So who can open a 529 plan and when should you get started? Anyone can open a 529 plan for as little in Ohio for as little as $25, and subsequent contributions are also $25. They can be open from before birth and through retirement. We'll talk about that in a minute. Benefits start earlier and accrue for a longer period the younger you start for your beneficiary, adding in the compounding or the time value of money. As I mentioned before, any Ohio resident, not just the account owner, if you file an Ohio income tax return, can claim the deduction off of your state tax return. So it could be grandparents, aunts, uncles, family, friends, anybody, as long as you file a state of Ohio income tax return, can take the Ohio tax deduction. You can even open an account while your student is in college and still receive the tax benefits of earnings that grow tax-free and contributions that are deductible on the state of Ohio income tax. Next slide, please. Qualified expenses, we talked a little bit about that earlier, are determined by the federal government, and they include tuition, required fees, room and board, on campus, or the equivalent for off-site housing. Up to $10,000 for private K through 12 expenses, and up to $10,000 for student loan repayment for the beneficiary or a sibling, apprenticeship programs, and books, computers, and related equipment and services. Next slide, please. Something that we're really excited about in the 529 community is new effective January 1, 2024. The Secure Act 2.0 of 2022 allows for tax-free and penalty-free rollovers from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. There are 6 specific requirements that must be met that you can see on your screen. The Roth IRA beneficiary and the 529 beneficiary must be the same person. The 529 account must have been opened for at least 15 years before rolling to a Roth IRA. The funds need to be in a 529 account for at least 5 years before rolling over to a Roth IRA. It needs to be a trustee-to-trustee direct transfer, and by that I mean the 529 program must issue the check directly to your Roth IRA provider. The yearly Roth IRA contribution limits do apply. I believe this year it is $7,000 for most individuals. And the lifetime maximum is $35,000 to roll over from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. And my legal counsel would be amiss if I did not say, please consult your tax advisor for specific questions about the 529 plan rollover to a Roth IRA. Next page, please. So where can you use your $529? 529 plans are incredibly flexible. Where you can use them is defined by the federal government to include community colleges, traditional colleges and universities for undergrad or graduate programs, technical or trade schools, certificate program, and apprenticeship programs. And just an interesting fact, in Ohio, the 529 plan may be used at over 30,000 schools nationwide. So you can see the heat map. We have a lot of schools around the eastern part of the United States, but it really can be used anywhere that federal financial aid funds are accepted. Next slide, please. The good thing about 529 plans is they're so flexible and so easy to use and transfer to another beneficiary. So they have a really wonderful grandparent appeal. A lot of times grandparents will want to open accounts for all of their grandchildren, and they'll say, well, what if my child doesn't pursue any educational opportunities past high school? You know, the good thing is all or part of 529 plans can be transferred to any qualified member of the family. Qualified family members are defined by the federal government to include children, grandchildren, siblings, children, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and as far as first cousins, in-laws, or any spouses of those individuals mentioned. So the easy way for us to remember how to define it is the original beneficiary. If somebody's related to them by blood, marriage, or adoption, up to and including first cousins, generally you can transfer your 529 plans to those family members. Next slide, please. Another question we get frequently is, what's the impact of 529 plans on your FAFSA form? I know recently FAFSA has gone through quite a change. I'm happy to report parental assets, parental owned 529 plans are assessed at a maximum of 5.64%. A new thing for beginning in 24-25 is anybody else that owns the 529 plan, with the exception of the parent or the student. So if it's a grandparent owned or an aunt or an uncle owned 529 plan, those 529 funds do not count on your FAFSA form. So it used to be the student had to recognize that as income in the year of receipt. Beginning in the fall of this year, you will not have to report those any longer. So it's a really good story for the 529 community. Next slide, please. So we've talked a little bit about some of the federal government's requirements for 529 plans. So let's chat a little bit about the Ohio plans. We offer in Ohio both a direct and an advisor plan. You can see on your screen some of the compare and contrast details that we have. There's no enrollment fee in either of our plans. There's no annual account maintenance fee in the direct plan, and it is waived in our advisor plan for Ohio residents. We've mentioned the low opening balance to open an account either in the direct or the advisor plan is $25. It is $500 for our Fifth Third 529 CDs. That's required by the bank. Our CD products sponsored by Fifth Third do enjoy the FDIC insurance backing in our direct plan. The providers of our investment options in the direct plan are primarily Vanguard, with a couple of funds from Dimensional Fund Advisors. And in the advisor plan, it's BlackRock, their iShares, and an option from Wells Fargo. A lot of people will say, do you provide financial advice? And in the direct plan, no, we are not authorized to provide any advice to our customers. It needs to be participant directed. We are not licensed to provide any advice or guidance, but we do try to provide tools to map out personal investment goals on our website at collegeadvantage.com/tools and calculators. And then obviously through the advisor plan, you will gain your financial advice directly through your financial advisor. And then in the direct plan, we can give the financial advisor access to your account with explicit written permission from account owners. And then again, in the advisor plan, account owners work directly with their financial advisors to open and transact in their 529 account. Next slide, please. So how do you get started? For Ohio's 529 plan and the direct plan, you can go online at collegeadvantage.com and download your College Advantage kit, or you can call our 1-800-AFFORD-IT number. Our call center is located in Columbus, Ohio, and open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 6 p.m. Next slide, please. In the direct plan, we also offer a mobile app that's been developed in conjunction with our record keeper partner, Ascensus. And in that app, you can go to your app store and select Ready Save 529, select Ohio as your 529 plan, And within your app, you can access balances, check your account, review performances, see how your 529 savings pattern compares to other savers, and most importantly, make contributions. Paul, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sounds great. And thank you so much, Trisha, for your time and insight. And we'll be circling back shortly. But as a quick color commentary to one of your slides, the trade-off between between investing, say, 30,000 that grows to 50,000 versus borrowing 50,000 and the downstream cost. Just it doesn't take too much of an imagination that as interest rates keep going up and up and up, that 80,000 that you have to repay will go up higher and higher. I think that the grad plus loans, there's roughly a 4% initiation fee, just a front end charge, and then there's it's the interest rate on that is over 10% right now. So it's I could see that number going up and up. It's just really to say that the importance of saving versus borrowing has never been more important. The importance of education financial planning, it just keeps going up as the cost and interest rates keep going up. So thank you.
Yep, completely agree.
So, and to parallel a lot of the discussion that we see, the big topic of the day within 529 plans is the expansion of qualified expenses over to distributing to Roth IRAs at the federal level. A lot of the same bullet points on the right, and a lot of it is I get constant questions about different definitions, how to interpret it, but a lot of that feedback to date has been, we as an industry have been asking the IRS for clarification on all these different questions. In the meantime, I look to these 6 bullet points, or just a lot of that is there. It's up to, and I even take a broader approach than Trisha to say, look at your plan disclosure agreements, talk to your plan, talk to your accountant, talk to your lawyer, talk to your financial advisor. It's but it's a longer way of saying is that the onus is on the investor for taking a look at and interpreting it. We are doing our best to interpret the rules as that sort of remains. But based on our research to date, when we survey parents and advisors, the knockdown effect, broadly speaking, is that people that whether it be parents or advisors or family, they really like it as a fallback feature. What happens if I save for college and my child does not go to college or ongoing education or all these other options such as apprenticeships? It's nice to have that fallback feature, and with that, there's a reduced level of concern and objections, for parents and advisors to open up an account. So we do expect more interest and confidence in 529 plans that it will, broadly speaking, be used at some point. Along those lines, there's reduced mental hurdles, and altogether it just builds momentum overall to save and pay and plan with a 529 plan to pay for college. An interesting twist is that some people also kind of pointed out that there's a longer time horizon, potentially between obviously saving and paying for education versus retirement. So there was some pieces that connotated to that. We do a quarterly market data collection on this activity to date, and the activity is less than 0.1% of assets and accounts. So as much as this is live, we can see with all these different constraining factors that that are there that may be capping that percentage at that point. 0.1% usage in the first quarter to date. But more to come, and obviously we'll be announcing things as soon as they're available, but more clarification needed. But so far there's very well received. I think what's also interesting is that in 2018 there was expansion of qualified expenses at the federal level to K through 12 tuition, and broadly speaking, when we do our own surveys of usage of 529 plans, roughly 5% of accounts are looking to use their 529 assets for K through 12 tuition. That's kind of interesting. And comparing that to 2020, there's apprenticeships and student loan repayments, which is closer to 2%. What I'm trying to say, long story short, is that 2018 K through 12 5%, in 2020 apprenticeships and student loans was at 2%. And as we go back here, this was just launched at 0.1%. That, broadly speaking, it does take time to get awareness and understanding that in familiarity with this broadening expanded set of qualified expenses overall. And overall more familiarity is leading to more 529 usage. But broadly speaking, the answer or the question that all these different expansion of qualified expenses does answer is like, what if my child doesn't go to college, or what if you are saving for college, but they need it earlier for K through 12 tuition for summer school? Summer school's right around the corner. Public schools, your former summer schools are not free in many states, including Pennsylvania. So there's those elements to that. And of course, what if my child doesn't go to college? They go to apprenticeships, and more now as well. What happens if they just don't go at all? That there's now this expanded capability to Roth IRAs. Broadly speaking, there was also the question that came up, if we think about just, communities and, parents at a playground, that what happens if my child doesn't go to school, go to college because they become disabled along the way? Well, there's been this development, in 2016 that went live for ABLE accounts, which are 529 accounts, broadly speaking, and in very simple terms for those with a disability. There's certain constraining factors that the age of onset needs to take place before the age of 26. In 2026, that age of 26 will go up to 46, which is interesting. But broadly speaking, to date, that the accounts are open, that they are being used, and that the momentum is building for ABLE accounts. It as much as sometimes people tend to make it a very complex conversation in many cases. And I have many friends in my own neighborhood as well that they have a 529 account for two children that they expect to go to college, and they have one account for an ABLE account for the one that may have a disability. So at a very simple level, the assets on the right there, we can see the asset growth, the account growth, and the average balances continue to grow. So that's another option in terms of expansion of qualified expenses over time. When we look at the first quarter 2024, what it is good to see is that for 529 plans, that broadly speaking, assets continue to increase. There's a 5.7% bump in assets in the quarter, 15.6% increase in assets. Looking over the past year, accounts continue to grow. So broadly speaking, that the quick lowdown for market data for the first quarter is assets are going up and accounts are going up. What's also going back on track is the back to normal sort of framing or framework that there is a lot of impact in terms of just contributions and distributions during the COVID periods, that perhaps people were deferring a year or taking a gap year, but contributions, interest in 529s continue to grow, but also distributions are back on track in a post-pandemic world that people are using it, which is good. What's also happening as well is that tuition inflation is back as part of the back to normal storyboard, that the tuition inflation is back, and so the contributions and distributions as well are there. When you look at the big picture, going back to 2001, that the number of accounts continue to grow, and accounts are growing, number of households are growing, which is great to see. But the bullet point that this emphasizes is really that 14.5% of households are currently using 529 plans. 529s have built great momentum, and there still continues to be an opportunity to get more families on board. And of course, with that expansion of qualified expenses at the federal level to distribute 529s to Roth IRAs, all like additional hurdles, additional mental hurdles are being taken away. So we do expect that the long-term trajectory of usage of 529 plans to continue to grow. What's one potential headwind is that the overall savings rate has considerably dropped. Me as a side pet project is really looking at what happened in 1993, where the savings rate just seemed to break south of that 7.5%. So we've seen a decreasing savings rate. We saw a spike during COVID in terms of just the overall savings rate, showing that it is possible, but we are trending back down to a 3.2% savings rate as of the end of the first quarter 2024. And I think that so when we think about the overall savings rate, I do think that there's opportunities to combat that. One is automatic contributions. Over time, we've seen about a third of the money going into 529 plans are taking place on an automatic contribution perspective. there's also just expanding capability for gifting functionality. Over the past 10, 20 years, we've seen an expansion of just great functionality for gifting and mobile apps and adult education. But Trisha, do you want to provide some commentary about your reception to date on the gifting functionality that you have seen?
Yeah, we in Ohio, we participate in the U-Gift for our customers, and we also offer the customers the ability to purchase greeting cards through our website at collegeadvantage.com. Gifting is such an easy way for contributors to make a meaningful contribution to their loved ones' um, aspirational dreams for whatever comes after high school. The various things that we've talked about. Maybe it's not the brick and mortar school, but maybe it's going into an apprenticeship program or a skills-based school. With graduation a season upon us, what a great way to recognize accomplishments for our loved ones at any age, whether it's kindergarten, fifth grade, eighth grade, high school, or frankly even college, and continue to gift that money to them, and they can utilize the monies later in life for professional development or ongoing learning.
Agreed. And broadly speaking, I just think it's a critical expansion because it really just shows that, education financial planning is a family goal, that it's family wide, that it's, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and also just other people who may be on the peripheral or just involved in the family's life or child's life. So that's just a great development. And then moving over to mobile apps, I think it's interesting or not interesting, but it's like everyone's on their apps nowadays. And I think it's a critical element just to expand to that younger demographic. But any response and feedback to date on the mobile app?
Yeah, we've had overwhelming majority of our customers have downloaded the mobile app. It's great, and we've talked about, as an industry, it's really important to meet customers where they're at. In today's society, you hardly see anybody that's walking down the street that doesn't have one or multiple cell phones in their hands. So, it's meeting them where they're at. It's having an app that's super easy to use, and to be sure that we're encouraging people to use it in a safe environment so that their security doesn't get compromised.
Mhm. Thank you. And I think that one question that I've been asked more from different members of the press or different storyboards that I've been seeing is that a lot of times when we talk about 529s as parents with children or grandparents with children, but what I've also seen more and more is two different storyboards is that in this post-pandemic world that you can use a 529 plan pretty much always for your own, finishing up your own undergrad degree or going to a graduate degree, retooling, restructuring, just accelerating, in a different direction. So that's sort of like the mid-career types, but also lifelong learners, for people who retire and, I just want to go to, keep active, keep learning in the community. How can I use a 529 plan for that? And it's, 529 plans, as you said, Trisha, are can be used for community colleges as well. And I think that's a interesting element. Do you have any color commentary on that perspective or?
Yeah, I mean, just a personal anecdote. My husband and I have two kids. We saved, along with our extended family, for in the 529. We didn't get any special benefits because I've worked here basically my entire career, and both of my kids graduated debt free from college, and they're well on their way to, buying homes and starting their own families. And now we are saving for grandkids. So, I know it works. I know it a lot of times it takes a village, and maybe our customers, maybe they say, I don't want to save all of it, I want my kids to have some skin in the game. That's fine, but there's going to be expenses that pop up. So we encourage people to save whatever's right for their family dynamic and be able to help give that gift of lower debt or no debt to their loved ones.
Great. Thank you, Trisha. I'll just jump in for reminders and best practices. For me, I would say, and very much in line with what you're saying, just get started. And even 1% of your, saving 1% of your income or just your paycheck, to that goal of saving and paying for college over 18 years does add up to a material, percentage and amount. And of course, that's, there's a lot of opportunities to over the years, nudge it up from say 1% to 2%. But I think that's just a great tip. Trisha, do you have any tips to share today, or?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, and I think we've all done it in the 529 community, is to remind people that, when it comes time for a holiday or a birthday or something like that, to encourage your family and friends to, maybe buy a smaller gift and put the balance of whatever you would have spent in a 529 plan. And I know from our personal experience, maybe your kids don't understand it at the time, but when college comes and they're graduating and they have that much less debt or no debt, they really do appreciate it. And who needs, 14 other plastic toys that are going to break in a matter of hours or days with their little ones?
Yes, save the ankle breakers and save for college debt. Thank you, Trisha. Yeah, so in industry announcements, I know for me personally, I do subscribe to the Ohio's 529 plan CollegeAdvantage, like e-newsletter, go to the website, subscribe. I think it's weekly. So just there's a lot of good ideas that there for you to get your mind thinking. There's that 529 Explorer, which I think is has a good library of different blogs and different topics. So check it out. And I think that's a great one. And of course, there's different information for employers, advisors, and nonprofit organizations. Trisha, do you have anything to kind of add or comment on the newsletter Explorer? I mean, like the 529 Explorer, or?
Yeah, I mean, we try to keep everything current and accurate out on our website and all of our social content. I might add that, with today being 529 plan or 529 day, we do have a number of awards that launched today. We have the ability to enter into a $10,000 award that we're doing in conjunction with the Cincinnati Reds, a $10,000 award we're doing in conjunction with the Cleveland Guardians, that's geographically limited to counties surrounding the Cleveland area, and a $2,500 award with the Toledo Mud Hens that all opened today at 529 this morning. In addition, we have another award with the Cleveland Browns that's $5,000 that will be in market through June 10th. And in all of these awards, we've put up half of the money, and whatever partner we are in conjunction with has put up half of the money. So it's a good way for us to get leads. And honestly, we do have winners that at some point get to have an on-field or on-court experience with me, get an oversized check, and get the money in their 529 account to either continue their savings journey or start their savings journey.
Thank you, Trisha. Yeah, I mean, your team does great work in the community. There's a lot of different programs. Obviously, you mentioned that the ones that are 529 day focused, but is there any other community events that you just want to highlight? I mean, you have a great team that does a lot of great work in the community. So just thought to pause and ask.
Yeah, we are sponsoring a number of programs this summer for a summer reading series at the various libraries throughout the state. We have many statewide events that we're covering this summer, employer events, chamber, Rotary presentations, sporting events, festivals, and of course, we'll be at the Ohio State Fair here starting in July for 12 days, trying to answer people's questions and drum up awareness for saving in a 529 plan wherever you live and whatever state you choose. It's just really important to save.
Great. Thank you, Trisha. And for us, we've just finished fielding our own survey of parents that, and we'll be releasing that in our report in June. And then of course, in the fall, we do a survey of advisors and release that in December. But more to come on all the different pieces, but a lot of that feedback to date on the consumer perspective, we baked into the the secure 2.0 like distributions to Roth IRA section. But there's just a number of different opportunities to continue to engage and get the message out there. We'll take a quick look at the questions and answers. The one that did pique my interest was just the percentage utilization of 14.5% of households. That includes all households, all U.S. family households. If you look at the definition of U.S. Census, there's a difference between U.S. households and U.S. family households. So those are two very different things. There's, just, it's almost comical, the difference between, the two differences. But when the U.S. Census talks about utilization of 529 plans, they do speak towards, things that are not typically considered, U.S. family households, which may or may not have children in that household. So it's roughly 85, million, roughly 85 million total households across the entire U.S. And that's that 14.5% usage rate. So, and for Trisha, we'll jump. I'll ask a question. I'll start reading the question board. But so for 2024, I guess we're 5 months into it. But where is your current area of focus in 2024?
Well, probably not unlike any other state 529 plan out there, is to continue to build awareness of 529s in general, and specifically what your state would offer. We're always trying to increase our account and contribution growth. A lot of times I'm not sure where this term came from, but we're trying to fill the leaky bucket. The 529 plans are, in some cases 20 or 25 years old, depending on when your state started. And, we're into our next generation of savers, and it's important to allow people to take their money out as distributions, but it's just as important to continue to fill that bucket with new contributions. So we remain, a viable market for people to save in a tax advantage way. And then, as I mentioned, from a marketing perspective, we're always on marketing 12 months out of the year. We have seasonalities, graduation season, summer reading programs, community events we're focused on. From an operational perspective, we do have a small conversion we're working on this summer. We're getting ready to start audit season. And we're always trying to make sure that we're safeguarding all of our customer information. So a lot going on here in Ohio.
Sounds great. Thank you, Trisha. And there was a question that came in about the average account size for able accounts. It's 11,000, just over 11,000 is the average account size for able as of the first quarter. For 529 plans, the average is 21,000 on average. Of course, the higher numbers do float it up higher based off of our research, and with the College Savings Foundation, CSF, that the median 529 balance is roughly $10,000 across the whole industry. So it's everyday families saving everyday amounts to for the end goal of saving and paying for college. And taking a look at the board, there's a question about what about private colleges? Who has financial aid forms that go into detail? Are the 529s owned by grandparents or others also not counted? A question about on the financial aid side. So, I mean, typically for me, that I think there's a lot of detail, and that does go into 529s and financial aid practice. So it is typically, for the, typically on the account owner to take a look at how the different financial aid kind of pieces, do impact, the different users. We had covered today about the parent impact, but for the grandparent impact, very soon, based on the FAFSA Simplification Act, that the impact of grandparents will be soon going away, from a financial aid calculation perspective. So it's more to come on that, but of course, take a look at the documents that you have, and talk to your advisor, accountant, and plan disclosure, statements on that side. And I guess from that perspective, Trisha, there's the 529 Explorer. I'm sure you have a number of posts that speak to that as well. What are your thoughts, Trisha, on that?
Yeah, I think you covered it really well, Paul. I mean, we try to put as much education out there as we can. We try to repeat education that's out there to make sure that we're continuing to provide accurate and current information as soon as we receive it. So as we mentioned earlier, in 24-25, the ability to have to report income in the year of receipt goes away for anybody except for the parent and the student. So anybody else that owns a 529 account no longer will need to report that in the FAFSA process.
Sounds good. there's a couple of different, questions, coming in, talking about different states and state tax perspectives. The quick question was, how has tax parity impacted the California plan? It looks like Judy Cunningham is answering the question. Right now, of course, after today's webinar, there's going to be we will follow up. I think on the exit of this webinar that there is an ability to ask a question, but I think we'll close out with the outlook question. As overall, I think from us, what we see is that just broadening qualified expenses, broadening demographics, and improved ease of use to really just continue that improved momentum for 529 plans. Trisha, what do you see for the outlook of 529 plans from where you are?
Yeah, from our perspective, we just want to continue to get the message out that it's really, really, really important to save in advance for whatever comes after high school. And while every state really wants to see their own assets go up, I think I can state broadly as an industry, we just want people to save in the best way possible. So certainly check your own state to see what benefits you have, but really save, because we want people to be able to say, I was able to save in advance and avoid some of that student loan debt.
Agreed. I as it comes to the end of the day, there's just save and save efficiently. The savings rate is too low, so just the more one saves automatically through all the different functionalities and gifting, that it's a 18-year road, and I think we'll get there together. Thank you, Trisha, for helping to support the Got Mail campaign, and much appreciated. So I think for moving over to the final ending pieces, I have this photo on the right that just basically says, like, together there's an opportunity to really change the storyboard. I saw this photo as we entered the summer in Kennebunkport, Maine. 4 years of college, a lifetime of debt, and that's exactly what we're trying to change the message. Trisha, together, just save efficiently with a 529 plan, and we'll get there together. But broadly speaking, thank you so much for your time and insight. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you for the attendees today. Thank you, Ohio's 529 plan CollegeAdvantage. Please take the survey. The replay will be available. Save and save efficiently, and have the education financial planning conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you.